Seriously? What are you wearing? The voice sliced through the hallway like a knife, shrill and amused. Jordan Carter had barely stepped inside Lincoln Creek Elementary when the laughter began. A group of sixth graders leaned against the lockers, their eyes wide with disbelief, fingers pointing. His FBI jacket, navy blue with bold yellow letters, suddenly felt too bright, too loud. "Oh my God, y'all. We got ourselves a little federal agent in the building," one boy shouted, doubling over in laughter. A girl snapped a photo with her phone. Someone else whispered, "He really thinks he's one of them," and the phrase passed from mouth to ear like a chant, each time sharper, meaner. Jordan's grip on his plastic badge tightened. He had worked on that badge for 2 nights, cutting it, laminating it, taping it just right so it looked like his dad's real one. Now it felt fake, ridiculous. Still, he walked forward, heart pounding, shoulders stiff. He remembered what his dad always said, "You don't shrink yourself for people who can't see your worth." But that was hard to believe now, as the hallway echoed with laughter and mocking voices. "You gonna arrest us, little man?" someone sneered as he passed. Jordan didn't answer. He couldn't.
His throat had gone dry.
He walked faster, trying to reach room 108, Mrs. Keaton's class, but the jeers followed him like shadows. As he reached the door, a voice barked behind him. "Hey, Officer Jordan, don't forget to check the cafeteria for stolen cookies." More laughter. He closed his eyes, exhaled slowly, and turned the knob. Inside the classroom, it was momentarily quiet. The low buzz of conversation halted as 20 pairs of eyes turned to look at him. Mrs. Linda Keaton, standing at the front with a coffee mug that said, "World's okayest teacher," raised one eyebrow. "And what exactly is this?" she asked, her tone laced with sarcasm. Jordan forced a small smile. "Career day, ma'am," he said, walking to his desk. "I want to be an FBI agent." The room burst into snickers again. Mrs. Keaton didn't laugh, but her smile was worse. It was pitying, cold. "You want to be in the FBI," she repeated. "And what gave you that idea?" "My dad, he's an agent," Jordan said, his voice steady despite the storm inside him. That only seemed to amuse her more. "Your father's in the FBI?" she asked, loudly enough that the kids in the back perked up. "Well then, we should all be afraid, shouldn't we? Better behave or Agent Carter Jr. might haul us off in handcuffs." The class roared. Jordan sat down, cheeks burning. He tried to keep his eyes on his notebook. He felt the sting of tears coming but blinked them back.
"Not now."
"Not here." "Let's be realistic," Mrs. Keaton said, still facing him, now addressing the whole class. "Some of us can dream of being astronauts, doctors, or even, yes, FBI agents. But some dreams," she paused, "just aren't built for everyone." The words hung in the air. She didn't say black. She didn't have to. The message landed like a slap. Jordan looked up at her, stunned. "But it's career day," he said softly. "We're supposed to dress like what we want to be." "Exactly," she snapped, walking over to his desk. "What you can be. We're not here to play make-believe." With that, she reached down and yanked the jacket off his shoulders. He gasped. "So did half the class." "There," she said, holding it up like evidence. "Let's not get carried away with costumes that mislead people." Jordan stood up abruptly, grabbing for the jacket, but she pulled it back. "Sit down," she ordered. "Or would you like to be written up for defiance too?" His chest rose and fell rapidly. "That's mine," he said. "My mom fixed it for today. It's not a costume. It's who I want to be." "It's delusional," Mrs. Keaton said flatly, then tossed the jacket onto her desk like it was trash. The room was dead quiet now. Even the kids who had laughed were stunned. A few looked uncomfortable, glancing away. Jordan sat down slowly. He couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. He reached for his phone under the desk and typed with trembling fingers, "I think I did everything wrong." The message went to one contact, Dad. Across the room, Mrs. Keaton cleared her throat. "All right, class," she said, as if nothing had happened. "Open your books to page 74. Today we're talking about probability, although some of us could use a lesson in realistic expectations first." Laughter again, weaker this time. Jordan stared at the page, but saw nothing. Numbers blurred. His chest hurt. The clock ticked loud in his ears. He didn't know how long he sat like that, only that his phone buzzed quietly 5 minutes later. A message from Dad. "I'm on my way." The words wrapped around him like a lifeline. He didn't know what his father would do. He only knew it was no longer just him against this room. Mrs. Keaton went on lecturing, oblivious to the storm coming her way. Jordan didn't lift his head. He was afraid if he did, the tears would come. And he wouldn't be able to stop them.
Michael Carter had driven fast before, on raids, undercover pursuits, stackyouts gone wrong. But nothing compared to the fury that gripped the steering wheel of his black Ford Explorer as he sped down I-71 toward Westerville. His mind was dashed on the message, I think he did everything wrong, but on the silence beneath it, the silence of a child still get to be brave. Yet humiliated for daring to believe. Every mile blurred, every red tail light was in his way. He didn't stop to call the school. He didn't notify HQ. Protocol be damned. This was his sign, this was personal. By the time he reached Lincoln Creek Elementary, 28 minutes had passed. He parked in the fire lane. 2 agents from his field office had followed him at his command. Not protocol. He didn't care. Their presence would speak what needed to be said before a single word left his mouth. Inside, Jordan sat in class, still silent. He had socked since Mr. Keaton confiscated his jacket. She had returned it sat, folded, on the corner of her desk like some forgotten joke. Around him, classes whispered. One of the girls, Tamara, who usually teased him, had glanced over more than once with a frown, as if unsure now of what she had witnessed. But no one said anything out loud. That was how it always worked. The cruelty of teachers was an invisible kind, the kind that sat just outside the rules. It was loud enough to file a complaint. It didn't use slurs. It didn't threaten. It suggested. It humiliated quietly, under the guise of discipline. Jordan knew that now. He felt it in his bones. The door cracked open. The entire class turned as vice-principal Paula Whitmore entered, followed by a secretary with a clipboard. Mr. Keaton looked up annoyed. "Something wrong?" she asked. "Mr. Carter is here to speak with you," Whitmore said, tight-lipped. Immediately. Mr. Keaton's face barely moved, but a flicker of unease passed through her eyes. She shouted, glanced at Jordan, then left the room without another word. Jordan kept staring at his textbook. But his fingers were curled into fists. He could hear the voice in his head, his dad's voice, telling him to breathe. The alva outside was still. Michael shouted by the office door, his presence alone commanding attention. Tall, clean-cut, dressed in a dark suit with a badge clipped visibly at his belt. His colleagues flanked him, also sweet, silent. The school secretary looked like she might find. "Mr. Carter," Whitmore began. "We can absolutely talk this out. I'm not here to talk," Michael interrupted. His voice was loud. It didn't need to be. It was still wrapped in ice. "I'm here to understand why my son was publicly humiliated for participating in a school sanction event." Mr. Keaton stepped forward. "I think there's been a misunderstanding," no Michael said, cutting her off. "There was the. Jordan tested me because something in his 11-year-old brain told him that he was the problem, not the teacher, not the school. Him. And you want to know what exactly gave him that idea?" Whitmore stepped between them, hands up, her voice trembling. "Let's move to my office," no Michael said again calmly. "This always fine. Maybe it's time the students and staff see what accountability looks like." Around them, teachers had paused in their doors. A few students spoke from classrooms. A silence fell over the corridor like a fog. "Your son was dressed in a way that could be misleading," Mr. Keaton said, slaver now. It was disruptive. Some of the students were confused. "Confused?" Michael's eyes narrowed. "It's career day. He wore a jacket with 3 letters on the back. That confused your class? We have rules about clothing that could be interpreted as official. Did he threaten Anione? No. Did he break a rule? Teshkalili? No, she admitted. But, so what exactly gave you the right to strip him of that jacket in front of first children? Keaton's face turned red and didn't strip him. You humiliated him, Michael said, the cold finality in his voice driving everything to out. You singled out a black boy in a public school for dreaming too big. You mocked his father's profession. And you told a roomful of kids that some dreams aren't made for everyone. What message do you think that sends? Whitmore opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Michael stepped closer to Keaton. You told my son to be realistic, he said. Let me tell you what's realistic. I grew up 10 blocks from here. I walked these same halls. I sat in your classrooms. And I remember exactly how it felt to be told to adjust expectations. I remember the snide comments the low grades, the guidance counselors who said community college was the best I could hope for and I didn't forget. I carried it into quântico, into the bureau, into every case I ever work. And now, 20 years later, you say the same dumb thing to my son. A long pause. Then Keaton said quieter, I didn't know. Michael's voice dropped even lower. You didn't ask. Behind them, a few students had gathered in the hallway. One had his phone out, filming. Keaton noticed. Her eyes widened. You have to stop this, she said. You're making a scene. Michael turned to Whitmore. You want a written apology from the school. You want an investigation into classroom conduct. And you want that jacket back. Today. Whitmore nodded, slavered. She walked into the office and returned a moments later, holding the folded FBI jacket. She extended it to Michael. He didn't take it, give it to him yourself, he said. He's in room 108. Mr. Keaton didn't move. Michael's eyes locked on hers. Go. Slowly face pale Keaton walked down the hall. The stars followed her. She entered the classroom. Jordan looked up. For a second, he didn't understand what she was holding. Then he saw the yellow letters. She walked to his desk and placed the jacket in front of him. Her voice was quiet. I'm sorry, Jordan. I was wrong. He didn't speak. He took the jacket, put it back on. And when he did, something shifted in the room. He sat taller. Straighter. Not because of the jacket, but because of what it now meant. The silence around him wasn't mocking anymore. It was respect. Or guilt. Maybe both. Back in the hallway, Michael turned to leave. But before he did, he saw something out of the corner of his eye. An old mural on the wall faded with time. Painted faces of former students. His eyes paused on one near the corner. A boy in a plain blue shirt. Big ears. Familiar smile. His own face. He had seen it in years. Had remembered it was there. The mural had changed. But everything else had. As he walked out of Lincoln Creek, the silence behind him said more than any speech could. He didn't say another word. He didn't need to. The next morning, there inside Lincoln Creek Elementary felt heavier, like the building knew something was coming. Rumors had spread overnight, parents testing each other, students replying shock videos of Agent Carter walking the halls, teachers whispering in break rooms. Jordan walked beside his mother Melissa, clutching his backpack straps together. She had barely soaking during the car ride, her jaw clenched, eyes focused forward, like she was preparing for a battlefield instead of a school entrance. You okay? She finally asked as they approached the door. Jordan nodded, though he was his stomach twisted in knots. Dad said he'll be here later, she added. There's going to be a school assembly. He knew that part. What he didn't know was why everyone suddenly wanted to listen. When he entered the building, something strange happened. The hallway went quiet. Not mocking quiet. Not tense quiet. Tash, watching quiet. Kids stepped as he walked. Some murmured quick greetings. One girl whispered, "Hey, Jordan, I liked your jacket yesterday." It was the first kind thing she had ever said to him. But Jordan didn't feel proud. He felt exposed, like everyone was waiting for him to either rise or break. Mr. Keaton was in the classroom when he arrived. The substitute said she was meeting with administration. No one explained more than that. Jordan sat, his mind spinning. Had he ghosted her feared? Was this going to make everything worse? Hey, a voice said softly beside him. It was Mason, the kid who had filmed the Alva incident the day before. He held his phone avidly, like he was sure if he was allowed to speak. I showed my mom what happened. She said what the teacher did was okay. Jordan blinked unsure how to respond. Mason shrugged embarrassed. Hash, wanted you to know. Then he walked away. It was the apology. But it was something. At 10 horas da manhã, the intercom crackled. All students and staff, please proceed to the gymnasium for the assembly. The room shifted with uneasy glances. Assemblies weren't normal on Wednesdays. Jordan's hands trembled. He wished his dad were already there. He wished he could disappear. In the halls of folding chairs lined the floor. The chairs the students into seats while the principal, Mark Havley, sat by the microphone wiping sweat from his forehead with undershake. He looked like a man already defeated by the day. At the back of the doors opened. Michael entered. He was in a suit this time. Just a dark jacket, jeans, and his badge clipped discreetly at his waist. He was here as an agent. He was here as a father. And suddenly, the whole room straightened. Students nudged at each other. The chairs stiffened. Principal Havley stepped up to the mic, clearing his throat. Good morning, everyone. Before we begin, you want to acknowledge an incident that took place yesterday involving one of our students, Jordan Carter. The microphone squealed with feedback. Jordan winced. The principal continued, you want to make clear that our school values inclusivity. Stop. A voice said firmly from the floor. All heads turned. It was Michael. He walked over the stage slowly, not pushing, not demanding, but the entire room parted for him as if instinctively. Principal Havley looked startled. Mr. Carter, perhaps we can, Michael said. Not behind closed doors. Not this time. Havley stepped aside. The microphone sounded alone. Michael approached it, then hesitated. He looked at Jordan across the room. His son sitting small in his folding chair, shoulders shut, eyes wide. Michael exhaled and began. Yesterday, my son was humiliated for wearing a jacket that represented a drawing. A simple drawing. One he has every right to have. A ripple of whispers moved through the gym. Michael continued, but this is the dash about a jacket. Or a teacher. Or one moment. His voice dropped drowsily. This is about something that has been happening here for a long time. The chairs exchanged uneasy glances. Havley shifted, tugging his shirt collar. Michael looked out at the students, then at the mural on the far wall, the same one he had seen the day before. There he was again, painted as a boy. The memory returned so forcefully he had to close his eyes. Then he said it, the secret he had buried for decades. He was a student here. Shock rippled across the gym. A few teachers frowned, trying to reconcile that with their memories of old staff rosters. He sat in these classrooms, Michael said. He walked these always. And he endured the same kind of treatment my son faced yesterday. The same comments. The same dismissals. The same message, through Samaler. And he never told him. Because he didn't want my son to grow up thinking the world was already built against him. His voice cracked, not vehemently, but with the weight of a truth dragged out of hiding. But he was wrong to stay silent. I told myself he was protecting him. But silence doesn't protect children. It buries them. Around the
gym, faces softened, students, teachers, even some who rarely cared about anything outside their lesson plans. Raleigh took a step forward, but Michael raised one hand, signaling him not to interrupt. When I got that text, I think I did everything wrong. I felt something I hadn't felt since I was a kid sitting in these same chairs.
Shame.
The same shame adults put on me when they decided what I could and couldn't be. He scanned the gym, his gaze landing on the teachers, then the students. This school taught me to lower my expectations. I became an agent anyway. And now my son, who has more courage at 11 than I had at 18, is being told the same lie. A student in the front row whispered, "Wow." Someone else muttered, "Why would a school do that?" Michael looked at Jordan again. "Son, you did nothing wrong." Jordan felt something break loose in his chest, something tight, heavy and unspoken. He blinked hard as his eyes stung. Then Principal Raleigh moved to the microphone, clearing his throat shakily. "Thank you, Mr. Carter, for sharing your experience." His words wobbled with discomfort. "We, the administration, will be reviewing our procedures and—" "No," Michael said, turning toward him. "You'll be reviewing your culture." Raleigh swallowed hard. Some teachers avoided eye contact. Others nodded subtly. And then, unexpectedly, Mrs. Keaton entered from the side door. Her face looked drained, but her steps were steady. There were murmurs throughout the crowd. She approached the stage and spoke without a microphone, but the gym was so silent she didn't need one. "I was wrong," she said, looking at the students, then at Jordan. "And not just about yesterday. About the way I've treated certain students. About the assumptions I've made." Her eyes moved to Michael. "I didn't know you were a former student. I didn't know what the school had done to you. But that's the problem, isn't it? We don't ask. We assume. We think we're teaching, but we're repeating patterns we don't understand." No one moved. No one breathed. She turned to Jordan, voice unsteady. "I can't undo what happened, but I am sorry." Jordan swallowed. He didn't hate her, not exactly. He just wished yesterday had been different. Raleigh stepped forward again. "We will be issuing formal apologies to the Carter family and implementing mandatory training for staff, but he stopped. Because Jordan had stood up. The whole room went silent again. And in the quiet, the boy who had been mocked in the hallway now stood taller than anyone else in the gym. He looked around, not angry, not afraid, just honest. "I just wanted to show who I want to be," he said softly. "Not to scare anyone. Not to pretend. Just to show." His voice didn't crack. It didn't tremble. It just carried. And for the first time since walking into Lincoln Creek, people truly listened. Michael's eyes shined. Not with pride, but with recognition of the boy he once was and the man Jordan was becoming right in front of him. Something in the room shifted then, not loudly, not dramatically, but unmistakably. A cultural fault line cracking open. A truth that could no longer be ignored. The stage was silent. The gym was breathless. And the story of Jordan Carter was no longer just about humiliation. It was about a legacy finally being confronted and rewritten. The days after the assembly didn't feel like victory. They felt like waiting, like that strange, silent space after a storm, where everything is still standing, but nothing feels quite the same. Jordan returned to school the next morning wearing the same jacket. This time, no one laughed. Some kids nodded when he passed, others whispered behind hands, but not with cruelty, more like uncertainty. People weren't sure how to treat him now. He wasn't just a kid anymore. He was that kid. The one whose dad came in like a force of nature. The one who stood up when everyone else was sitting down. But to Jordan, the attention wasn't comfort. It was pressure. He sat in class, stared at the whiteboard, took notes like always, but something inside him had shifted. He could still hear the silence after his words in the gym. He could still see his dad's face when he told the truth about the school. A truth even Jordan hadn't known. And that truth wouldn't leave him. That night, after dinner, he sat on the back porch steps with Michael. The air smelled like dry leaves and chimney smoke. Crickets hummed. Neither of them spoke for a while. Then Jordan said, "Why didn't you tell me before? About going here?" Michael exhaled, long and slow. "Because I didn't want you to carry my pain. I thought if I kept it locked away, it would die there." Jordan looked at the yard. But it didn't. "No," Michael said. "It passed itself to you." Jordan was quiet for a long time. Did it hurt the same way? Back then? Michael looked at him, then nodded. "Exactly the same." Jordan blinked hard. "That's not fair." "No," Michael said. "But now it's out. And now it's ours." At school, changes began happening faster than anyone expected. The district launched a formal inquiry. Several other parents came forward, mostly Black and Latino families, sharing stories of being dismissed, overlooked, discouraged over the years. Some hadn't planned to say anything. But after Jordan's speech, they felt seen. Teachers were suddenly attending bias workshops. though some looked as if they'd rather be anywhere else. Mrs. Keaton didn't return to class that week. Rumors swirled: suspension, leave, reassignment, but no one knew for sure. Still, her absence spoke volumes. Vice Principal Whitmore began appearing more often in classrooms, watching silently from the back. Her presence made everyone a little more careful. One afternoon, she pulled Jordan aside after math class. "I wanted to check in," she said, her voice clipped formal. "How are you feeling this week?" Jordan shrugged. "Okay, I guess." "Your dad," she hesitated. "He said something powerful."
About this place.
"About legacy." She didn't meet his eyes. "I think I failed to see that before." Jordan wasn't sure what to say. He didn't trust her, not yet. But there was something in her tone, something less guarded, that made him nod slowly.
"Thank you," he said.
That night, Melissa found Michael alone in the garage, sitting in the dark. She turned on the light. "You okay?" He looked up, startled, like he'd forgotten where he was. "Yeah," he said, but his voice betrayed him. She stepped closer. "You've been quiet since the assembly." He nodded. "Just thinking." "About what?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "That mural in the gym. My face is still there. After all these years." Melissa waited. He went on, "They painted me like I mattered. But back then I didn't. Not really. I was just another kid they wanted to quiet down. Just like Jordan." "But you didn't stay quiet," she said. Neither did he. He looked at her, eyes tired. "I think I've spent my whole life trying to prove I'm more than what they saw." "And now?" she asked. He was silent. She took his hand. "Now you don't have to prove anything anymore. Not to them.
Not even to him.
He sees you." That truth struck deeper than anything else. Michael didn't respond, but his grip on her hand tightened. At school, Jordan was called into the office on Friday morning. For a moment, he thought he was in trouble. But when he arrived, Principal Raleigh was standing with 2 school board members. He cleared his throat. "Jordan," he said, "the district would like to invite you to speak at the community forum next week. It's a gathering of parents, teachers, and leaders. We believe your voice could help guide the changes we're putting in place." Jordan's mouth opened, but no sound came out. They wanted him to speak? Not his dad. Not a politician. Him. Raleigh smiled awkwardly. "We understand if it's too much. But you'd have full support. And we owe you that." Jordan nodded slowly. "Okay," he said. "I'll do it." Later that night, Michael looked over the notes Jordan had scribbled in his notebook. "You wrote all this already?"
"Just ideas," Jordan said.
"I want to talk about why dreams matter, even when they feel stupid to other people." Michael smiled. "That's a good start." "I also want to talk about how it's not enough to say sorry," Jordan said. "You have to do something after." Michael looked at him. "Sounds like someone I know." Jordan looked up. "I meant you." Michael blinked, caught off guard. Then they both laughed. The night before the forum, Jordan lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The words he planned to say kept circling in his mind. He wasn't afraid. Not really. But something inside him buzzed, like maybe, for the first time, his voice could actually build something instead of just defending itself. Downstairs, Michael sat on the couch holding something in his hand. A small box. Inside was a silver badge, not a real one, but a commemorative token engraved with the FBI seal and a phrase that caught the light when he turned it. "Future Special Agent, believe in yourself." He had ordered it a year ago, waiting for the right moment. Maybe this was it. Not to promise a future, but to honor the belief itself. The belief his son had shown when the rest of the world tried to laugh it out of him. And the belief Michael had lost once, in those same school hallways, but had found again, through his son. The auditorium was fuller than expected. Folding chairs filled the floor, parents lined the walls, and even some teachers who usually avoided evening events sat near the front. The community forum had never drawn this kind of crowd, but tonight, something was different. People weren't here out of obligation. They were here to listen. The podium stood under bright lights, flanked by a long table of school board members and district representatives. Jordan sat beside his parents, a note card in his pocket, but he hadn't looked at it all evening. He kept glancing at the crowd, at the mural of student faces that loomed behind the stage, faces of the past, painted in smiles, frozen in time. One of them still looked like his father. Michael sat beside Melissa, hands folded in his lap, quiet but proud. He hadn't said much on the drive here. He didn't need to. Everything that needed to be said had already passed between them, in silences, in looks, in that small silver badge he had placed in Jordan's hand earlier that morning. When Jordan's name was called, he rose, heart thudding. The crowd shifted, murmured. A few people clapped. He stepped up to the microphone, hands shaking only slightly. Then the room stilled. Jordan took a breath. I used to think the worst feeling in the world was being laughed at, he began. But it's not. The worst feeling is believing the laughter might be right. A hush fell over the auditorium. He continued. Last week, I wore something to school that made people laugh. It was just a jacket. With 3 letters on the back. 3 letters I see on my dad's uniform. FBI. I wore it because that's what I want to be. But I learned that some people think certain dreams are too big for kids like me. Not because we're not smart, but because of where we live. Or what we look like. He paused. That hurt. More than I knew how to explain. But something else happened too. Something bigger than the laughter. His eyes found his father in the crowd. Someone told the truth. My dad stood up and told a story. A story he kept hidden for years because it hurt too much. He stood up, and suddenly, I wasn't alone anymore. A few parents leaned in. Teachers looked down. That's what changes people, Jordan said. Not just anger. Not just punishment. But truth. And the courage to say it out loud. He looked out across the room at the people who had taught him, judged him, dismissed him. I don't want to be famous. I don't want to go viral. I just want to live in a place where kids can say who they are without being laughed at. Where teachers help us grow, not shrink. He pulled the note card from his pocket, then paused, folded it, and put it back. I was going to end with something fancy. But I think I'll just say this. We don't need to fix kids. We need to fix how we see them. The room went quiet. Then, someone clapped. Then another. Then the sound swelled, filling the auditorium. Not polite applause, but something real. Raleigh stood slowly. Even Whitmore clapped, her eyes glassy. Michael's hand was on his heart. After the forum, people lined up to speak to Jordan. Parents, students, even a few teachers. One, an older woman with gray braids and tired eyes, whispered, I've waited 30 years to hear a child say that. Jordan nodded. He didn't smile. He just listened. Because tonight, he knew his voice had done something. It had reached them. Not everyone, but enough. That weekend, the district announced a full audit of disciplinary practices. Bias training became mandatory. And for the first time in school history, a student advisory panel was created, with Jordan as one of its founding members. At home, the jacket was no longer tucked away. It hung by the front door. Not as a costume, but as a reminder. A symbol. Michael never took down the badge Jordan carried. He watched his son now with quiet awe, not because he saw a future agent, but because he saw someone who refused to back down when it mattered most. One night, sitting in the same porch where everything had started, Jordan asked, Do you think things will really change? Michael took a long breath.
They already have, he said.
And he was right. Not because the world had become perfect overnight, but because one boy had reminded an entire community how far off track it had gone, and how powerful it is when someone decides to stop being quiet. Jordan smiled. Not the kind of smile that asked for approval. The kind that said he finally understood who he was. And that no one, no teacher, no classmate, no school, could take that away again. Thank you for listening to this story until the very end. It means more than you know.